Welcome to the first episode of To Witch Isle. I'm Charmaine,
And I'm Crystal.
and let us tell you why we decided that we needed to start a show. I'll go first. I am not a therapist, by all means, not a therapist. However, I've been in therapy for about 10 years, and I've had PTSD most of my life. And I never connected spirituality into my life because of trauma due to religion. So, fitting in this idea of spirituality and being told that I'm going to find my way to it was very hard for me to accept. And now that I've made the connection through yoga practice and breathing techniques and the therapy, I've put it together to where it makes sense in my head now. And I feel like other people are stuck out there like I was, stuck in that where do I go next? How do I fit this in? And where does it fit in per se? So, Crystal, how about your why?
Well, I discovered spirituality quite spontaneously. Didn't really know that I needed a source of comfort and understanding, and that I could find that within myself. And so, finding a spiritual mentor and going to her for a year, I discovered that I had a passion for helping other people discover the spirituality within themselves. And so, I'm just, you and I started talking about this stuff together, and we have had such great discussions that I just absolutely, I needed another. We both needed an outlet for our voices so that other people could hear us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So now let's go into a minute about what is spirituality. What does it mean? Spirituality, the definition of spirituality is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to mere material or physical things. Now, mental health, on the other hand, the definition is a person's condition with regard to their sorry to their psychological and emotional well-being. So, when you put those together side by side, what do you see, Crystal? Because I see it pretty clear.
Yeah, I see something that's like, hello, these go hand in hand. Side by side, we walk together. You need one and the other.
Absolutely. You're talking about, when you're talking about your spirituality and the human spirit is in essence what your mental health is, your psychological well being, who you are is just all that, the way you put things together, the lens that you look through, the way you see things. So,
Hmm.
uh, they actually go hand in hand. Whereas while I was going through therapy in the past, we'll say 8 years of it, I was like, what do you mean I have to find spirituality? What do you mean meditation isn't enough? I know why you're telling me to breathe. I'm supposed to breathe for oxygen. Like, I couldn't grasp the need to slow yourself down to heal those parts of you that were broken. I think the hardest part of therapy is realizing that you disassociate, and the only cure is association when all you want to do is run away from all of that stuff and those things that make you feel bad.
Right. And that's, kind of how I was at the beginning of discovering spirituality. Everything was all light and rainbows and exciting, and oh, the world is so pretty and so wonderful. Then I figured out that I actually had to do some deep work. And then that was the roller coaster.
Right. And I think the deep work is the hard part. Putting spirituality together with it. Like, I got the yoga and I was in yoga for a long time. It really wasn't until I picked up a book that was about, it was in essence about being a kitchen witch. And I thought, let's bring a little magic into my life. I used to dabble in white magic when I was a kid. I thought it was fascinating. So I kind of found my way back there and bought a book. And once I started reading it this go, I realized that I had learned every single skill in that book. It was all mindfulness, and mindfulness is key in making anything happen in your life, whether it is healing from an old wound or whether it's just becoming at peace with who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've, definitely discovered that there is a whole lot more to me than I knew by discovering spirituality. And I'm actually quite impressed and proud of the woman that I'm becoming by finding these things, and
Well, I know you have a whole list of things in regards to spirituality uh,
right.
that I get to touch
Well,
on and tell you where they cross over. So go with your list.
okay, well, first of all, I mean, there are three elements to spirituality. There's the mind, there's your body, and then there's your spirit, right? And so to really and truly discover who you are at your core, not who society taught you to be, not who your parents the impressions that they made upon you when you were a child. Actually discover like the core of your being is your first step into venturing into spirituality.
Right, right. And when you're talking about your body, a lot of people don't take into account that your body is, in essence, your temple here on earth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you think of going and taking care of yourself, going to church and praying for your soul. Okay, well, that's great. But are you taking care of your body as well? Because your body is what's going to carry you through to get you to all of the tasks that you need to do to clear this life to get to the next part. I like
Yeah,
to I
absolutely.
like to think of it as video game levels, you know. We level up every year.
Yeah,
And we got to do all of our tasks before the before the end.
absolutely. Then I you the next step into spirituality is to start really questioning things. Start, looking for the deeper meaning in life. Just not just like expect us, we're just here and that's the way it is, like actually look at the birds and the trees and see that all life is precious and explore, into that.
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, that comes back down to that emotional intelligence and really being able to grasp the lessons and the bad things that happen in life so that life isn't all bad. A lot of us focus on the negative in life, and when we get stuck, when, oh, it just feels like everything's not good right now. Well, that's usually because the universe is trying to teach you some sort of lesson and you're not getting it. And when you don't get it, it comes in louder and louder until you do get it. And some of us might have experienced that before. Have you experienced that universe getting louder because you didn't listen, Crystal?
Oh yeah, yeah, a time or two, I would say. Yeah, it's cyclical. Everything comes around until you learn your lesson, or it may not be necessarily a lesson that you need to learn either. It could just be that you are not moving in a certain direction, and so that will get louder and louder and louder until you finally have the cojones to step up and do what you need to do.
It usually happens when you're resisting some sort of change in your life. Um,
Hmm.
and I have had to talk about that a lot in therapy because I was a big resistor of change in my life. Yet, all I wanted was something different, which ironically requires change. Funny how that
What do you do?
works.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's the fear. It's the fear of making the changes that are necessary. Sometimes the changes are in the short term going to be super uncomfortable to make, yeah. But once you get past making that change, life becomes better, things become better. However, it's usually our lens or our reaction that is making us stop in fear because we're fearing something deep down. Usually, my fear is abandonment. Anytime I feel there's an inkling of abandonment on the horizon, it's like the emotions start to take over. I recognize that feeling now and I can usually stop it from happening, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't stop. Life
no,
is
no.
all about throwing new stuff at you to see how you're going to react next. Are you going to level up?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be stuck here for another however long?
So the best way to get started on that is to start speaking your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to, set boundaries, healthy boundaries, stick to those boundaries and say how you feel, how, it goes so many different directions, just really speak, say it who you are, be who you are.
Yep. Being authentic, living authentic. Um, Speaking your truth was something that I was never allowed to do as a kid. It, it was something I had to do to survive, was to put my emotions aside and get through life, which I did. And I made it through childhood. I made it through my adulthood. I'm getting older, but also getting wiser too. I realize that we are all just human and we all make our own mistakes and we all do things to correct those mistakes. We all try to do the least amount of harm, but we don't get out of life not harming people in our life. So it's going to happen. So the spirit, taking care of yourself spirituality, taking care of yourself in your mental health, knowing that you're human and going to make mistakes, maybe you can give yourself a little bit of grace and leeway when it comes to making a mistake. I've made plenty of mistakes. And I used to be really, really hard on myself. And
We're only human.
beating myself up didn't correct any mistakes. All it did was make me feel piss poor about myself. Well, I've still made this mistake. But
Right.
getting back to that emotional intelligence, being able to tell myself, okay, so I've made a mistake. How do I fix this? How do I make it better? And how do I make it so that I don't make that mistake anymore? And I think that's what life is about, really, is figuring out that portion of it, figuring out who you are without all of those society, this is who you are. You have to be like this. You have to get a degree and get a good job to take care of your family and have, health care and plenty of money to spend on your children. Life doesn't work as a flow chart like that. Rarely does it go as planned.
No. Those expectations will kick you in the butt too, man. Whew.
Ooh, expectations is another one. Ooh, expectations.
Oh, we're
Let,
gonna have so much
let's
material.
let's talk let's talk a minute about manifestation though, okay? Because expectations always kicks me in the gut because yeah, when you expect something of somebody and they don't live up and then you let yourself down because you're the one with the expectations. Ugh. But how about manifestation? Like, how do we manifest stuff? Okay, if we want to add a little bit of witchiness to it and we want to think real hard about manifesting, say, abundance of wealth, or something to that magnitude, because that puts a lot in your life if you can manifest something like that. What is manifestation? Manifestation is just mindfulness, being able to slow down and have one intention in your mind and focus that intention and focus it out so that it comes out into your life. That's essentially what manifestation is. And if manifestation is
Right.
just mindfulness, and mindfulness is something you learn in therapy, like, I mean, when I put that together, I was like, oh, okay. So if I want to put my if I want to stir in goodness into my cup of coffee, I've got to stir clockwise circles while thinking of all the good things I want to happen that day. Well, now I just made myself a magical cup of coffee
Hmm.
through mindfulness, which is just
Right.
crazy. It's the same thing.
Well,
And
we manifest every day, like whether we
absolutely.
recognize that we're doing it or not.
Ooh, that's another good part of it. Yes. That
You
manifestation.
manifest daily without realizing that you're doing it. What you pay attention to, you are buying. So when you pay attention to something, whether it's bad news or you woke up on the wrong side of the bed and you stubbed your toe and you just think, ah, this is going to be the worst day. Well, yeah, you just manifested the worst day. So
You did.
it's a constant. We create our own reality every day by our thoughts. You control your thoughts with mindfulness. Therefore,
Absolutely. And if you stubbed that toe and you drew blood, you just did blood magic, lady.
yes, there's that.
But no, sticking it together, I like I said, I've been in therapy for 10 years, and it wasn't until the last few years that I was really understanding how spirituality fit in, what it even meant to my mental health. Um, and once I started putting into practice the mindfulness practice in mental health, I noticed that my life got better. So it was just a matter of making it a practice and doing it on a regular basis, because consistency in everything is what makes the magic happen. You have to have consistency. So if you're not consistent, if you don't try to meditate, if you don't try to slow yourself down, you probably won't get to the manifestation part of life. But I mean, not the meaningful manifestation. You'll be willy nilly
Right.
manifesting things that you
Yeah.
don't want to happen, because the universe never hears, I don't want to be in a traffic jam. The
What you
universe
focus on.
hears, traffic jam. Okay, you got it. Traffic jam. And
Yeah,
that's
if
not,
you are focused on it, yeah.
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 And so the trick to manifesting is really controlling your thoughts and slowing them down so they aren't so random. So you're not thinking about the worst case scenario, because if you're thinking about the worst case scenario, 9 times out of 10, that's what's going to happen, is your worst case scenario
Absolutely.
or close to it. And who wants it? That's a drag. You know, I've been that person that says, "Oh my god, why has all this bad stuff happened to me? Why does it keep happening to me?" This was back when I was learning mindfulness, because it's not easy to learn. Once you can see all the things all the behaviors that you're putting out, the language that you're using that's causing the strife in your life, but you don't know how to fix it, it's very frustrating. Because I kept seeing
Hmm.
it, and every week I'd go back to therapy and they'd give me another little piece of skill. And mindfulness was like three big pieces of skills that were broken down. So the first part, I'm like, oh crap, I'm doing all this stuff wrong. That's wrong. That was me judging. That was the third part of mindfulness, non-judgmental. But I hadn't gotten there yet, so I kept telling myself, "What am I? Look at all the stuff I'm doing wrong." And then I'd learn the next part, and I'd be like, oh, okay, now I see what I'm putting out, and now I see where I'm hurting people. That's wrong. And then
Right.
finally, I got to that judgmental part where you take away the judgment instead of kicking myself and telling myself it's wrong. I had to tell myself that, okay, so you did some hurting. Now let's see how we're going to fix it. Let's problem solve it. What can we do going forward? We can't fix the spilled milk, but we can clean it up. And, you still got a little bit of milk left in that cup. You just sloshed it a little. Just, it's kind of like the theory of, I remember we were talking about it one day in therapy, and it was like I was kicking myself for making a mistake, engaging in a behavior that I knew was destructive. And I went into therapy and I was still kicking myself.
What I'm hearing you say is, what I'm picking up is that a big point to be made is self-love is a big priority in spirituality. Self-love.
Yes, absolutely. Um, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to be able to love anybody else because you'll always feel this hole within yourself. And filling that hole within yourself with somebody else or something else, or the next job is going to make me happy. The next house is going to make me happy. The next place I move will make me happy. The next boyfriend will make me happy. That kind of thinking is the most dangerous, because what you really need is to figure out why you're not happy on your own, because we should all be happy on our own. Without that, well, this would make me happier. Filling that hole with something else is very dangerous, because then you run into that, okay, well, did I just fill a hole with a person, and now 10 years down the line that's not working anymore? And you're starting to drown in your own feelings again because that didn't work. And I know, because I've been there.
You're making another really, really good point. Spirituality is all about discovering the wholeness of oneself. Mm-hmm. About putting, the pieces of trauma that you've experienced back to making your spirit whole again. There's many different ways to look at it. Everybody has their own perception of how, of the God self, of spirituality, however it is, believed. I mean, heck, I know atheist Buddhists. So there's no wrong way, but it's all about discovering the wholeness of oneself. Definitely. To not be trying to fill a void within you with other things, with material things, with other people, mm-hmm. with other places, that you are whole 100% as you are right here. There's no need for outside to make you to fill anything in, because you are already filled in.
Right. 10 years ago, I did not feel whole. And I actually entered therapy looking for the magic pill to fix it and make it all better so that it would just stop. That's not the way it works, Charmaine. So I have been there. I have struggled through the therapy process because it requires changes that I have been so fiercely keeping myself safe with this particular set of skills, and then to tell me that they're not working anymore. I realize I'm miserable, but this is what's kept me safe. And it's that thinking that had kept me stuck. It's once that thinking was broke and I came to the place where I was like, all right, great. There's no magic pill. I get it now. All right. I have to do this therapy thing. Okay, whatever. And I threw myself into therapy because that's what they told me was going to fix me. And, and I was ironically one of those people that was afraid to let my therapist down. So I would do everything I was asked, no matter how reluctant I was to do it, even if it was in the last 15 minutes before class.
People pleaser.
Yeah, absolutely. To the extreme. And so, yeah, going to therapy. Like, I was afraid to be late. I was ridiculously on time all the time because of my fear of being late. But all of that came back from a place of trauma, and I never realized that it went all the way. Like, I would have blamed, in the 20s, I would have blamed it all on my military trauma. That's absolutely what screwed me up. I was fine before then, but you know what? I was not fine before then. I was barely making it through before then. And then went into the military, and they just shoved me over the edge. And then, you know, life happens and bad things happen and those shove you over the edge. And then I came to that place where I was finally, I just can't do this anymore. I'm tired of being sad all the time. And if you're telling me that this therapy stuff's going to help me, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, your signal. We were talking about that. It's gets louder and louder until you listen.
Yeah, dang straight.
So, do you want to talk about some of the ways to physically get into spirituality? I wrote down the like physical exercise, specifically yoga, tai chi, qigong. There's a multitude of different types of yoga.
And do you know why that is? It has to do with your body and the way that we carry our trauma. Those exercises release that flight or fight response that has been stored in your body for as long as you've been having them and been told you're not allowed to have them. And
Right.
I don't know about you, but for me, uniquely, my home life, I had to stifle those flight or fight responses. And then when I
Absolutely.
and then when I got to the military, well, guess what? In the military, the mission comes first, not your feelings. So guess what? Suck it up, Buttercup. You need to do the mission first. So I put off all feelings until after. And even then, I was putting them off because by then they were big and scary. And I thought that if I touched them, I would be stuck in that feeling forever, which is a lot of people's feelings. So,
Hmm.
but all of those stifled responses need to be released. And the easiest way to release them is through exercise. And yoga is one of those things that releases things that are trapped in your body through breath work and movement. Tai
It's
Chi, same.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
go on.
Um, Travel and explore, get into nature. Go on nature hikes, go for a walk on the beach. And get your feet on the ground. Get your feet on the ground. Get out there. The sun is good for you. If you can walk with bare feet where you're going, that's good for you. It's grounding with the earth. Really, really get into nature. That is my favorite thing to do is to get into nature, especially the ocean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The ocean's my favorite place. But grounding is a big part. The therapy will challenge you to get outside of your home bubble because a lot of us with PTSD tend to be isolators. So, to get out of that bubble and into nature, into a place that makes you feel a little bit smaller and less important. If you're sitting at the edge of the woods or on the edge of a babbling brook or even at the coastline, on the ocean, on the beach, sitting there, there's power there. And it's something you feel deep down. And to get yourself grounded there, it's really great for you. Plus, it gets you outside of your bubble. Even you don't have to interact with people outside of the bubble. I never interact with people on, well, no. I'm a big fat liar. I talk to everybody, so.
We
I
don't
do.
have any trouble with conversation.
Not at all. Can approach anybody. That's a nice dog. Look, a dolphin. I love the beach. But no, it's a big part about grounding. And now it's become a spiritual part for me because I understand why it is grounding. I understand what I'm connecting to when I'm sitting at the edge of the ocean, listening to the waves come in and out, and at the same time, maybe even meditating and letting my feelings go in and out with those waves so that, I'm just letting go all of those things that are bothering me. Taking a minute for myself. And usually my beach trips are just for myself.
Hmm.
Anything else on your
Yeah,
list?
um meditation. So I saved the best for last.
Mm.
Meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is my go-to 100% whenever I first discovered spirituality, and meditation was an enormous part of getting me started and getting me to the depth that I'm at today. I've had amazing experiences through meditation. A lot of realizations. I've done a lot of healing through meditation. There's so that's a big one. Big one.
Yeah, and those realizations we're definitely going to talk about all through our series because those are the things that we do want to talk about.
Yeah.
How those small realizations can make big impacts in your life. How the small realization that expectations hurt relationships is a big realization that a lot of people haven't thought about before. What's another really big one? Perception.
Perception. Yeah, exactly. ESP, sister. Perception is a huge one. There are how many billion, seven something billion people on this planet? And that means that there are seven something billion perceptions of reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a police officer interviews everybody in a crime scene because he has to get the generalized story by comparing the notes.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. And our perception is everything. If we can tweak our perception, we can make big changes in our life. But it takes realizing what the perception is that is holding us back.
yeah.
Mine usually is abandonment. My issue is abandonment. So my perception is that if somebody does do something that really hurts my feelings, it means they're about to abandon me. And if I've put a lot into that relationship, that's going to hurt. And so I have to actually stop myself from going into people pleasing overload because that is my go to. I'll fix it. But some things aren't meant to be fixed. Some
Right.
things are to be, some things are lessons that you need to learn. Sometimes it's just about getting you to the next level. What are you surrounding yourself with? Is that what's irritating your soul right now? Is that the perception that's got you panties in a bunch, if you will? Something to that effect.
Right.
What's irritating your spirit today? I tend to ask myself frequently, how am I feeling today? My therapist used to do it all the time. So now I do it. But if I ask myself out loud and then I answer myself out loud, well, I'm feeling XYZ. I'm feeling anxious today. Why am I feeling anxious? I can pinpoint it down to what maybe it is that's causing me anxiety. Sometimes
Right.
it is something I've done to myself, like I missed my medication. Oops.
You're making another really, really good point now because the emotions that we are experiencing, we are experiencing those emotions for a reason. If they are emotions like anger or sadness, things like that, then that is our way of knowing that there is something that is not right, something that is not working for us. And so emotions play a huge role in spirituality and learning how to control your emotions and learning how where they come from and what they mean all together and to actually feel them. Sit with the emotion and feel it. Let
Right,
it pass through you.
right. Most people's fear, and from experience, I'll say that most of our fears of emotions come from just fear that it's going to take over. Like, oh man, if I let myself get angry, it's going to take over and that's going to be the end of it. But has that actually ever really happened over the course? I mean, when you have even gotten angry, has it taken you over? Have you literally hulked out? Well, you might have. You might have done some dangerous things. You might have done some destructive things while you were angry. But you always come out of being angry. And then what happens? You feel pretty bad for whatever it is that you broke. Maybe it was a hole in the wall. Maybe it was a broken knickknack that can't be replaced. There's a lot of things that anger can do, but it doesn't stay forever. No emotion stays forever. And a big part of therapy is really just learning that emotional intelligence, that not every emotion that comes over you is who you are. Just because you feel angry doesn't mean you are angry. It just means right now that you feel angry, and that usually means something's happening that makes you feel disrespected. Usually, anger happens because there's some sort of disrespect going on. And the hardest kind of disrespect is the disrespect that you take from yourself. And I've taken a lot of disrespect from myself over the years. To say now that
Right.
that's one of the hardest ones to break is to come to the conclusion that the only reason I'm feeling this way is because it's something I've done. I'm feeling shameful because I treated somebody unfairly and that wasn't right. Well, guess what? What's going to make me feel better is apologizing. That's about all that's going to make me feel better. Otherwise, I'm just going to live in that grump moment of, well, I'm going to blame it on somebody else. Blaming it on somebody else doesn't work either, because it doesn't matter. You still feel it. It's still there. It's yours to own, not anybody else's. It's a hard sword, that one.
You do make a really good point, though, that we are not our emotions. So you made this point the other day where instead of saying, I am angry, it's I feel angry.
Absolutely.
Because instead of being, you don't want to be, hello, I am angry.
That's
No,
right.
that's.
Because you're not. Most of us are pleasant human beings when we're being human beings. But the things that I think we forget, that we're human, that we can't do everything all at once either, and that what happens in our life is going to happen when it happens. There isn't a timeline for it. Unless you're really, really working hard and you're trying for a timeline, and it still doesn't always pan out because life, in essence, is full of delays. But those delays are usually lessons wrapped up in there. Something you might need to learn before you take that next step.
Yo, absolutely.
Anything else on your list of things that you wanted to
No,
discuss
that was.
spirituality wise?
I had no, just that those were what I had on that list. And I think, we definitely need to reiterate the point that about perception, though. Like, we want everyone to take what resonates, right? I don't think we made that
Absolutely.
point earlier. Take what resonates with you and leave the rest, because just as there are an infinite amount of religions, it seems, there are an infinite amount of ways that you can experience spirituality. So, you
Absolutely.
do you. Absolutely, you do you. 100%.
Spirituality isn't necessarily religion. Spirituality is being concerned with your soul and spirit. Mental
Mm-hmm.
health, having a mental illness, a mental health is being concerned with your mind, your emotional well being. And that is tied into your spirit big time, because your emotions are what make you who you are. And all of the points that we talked about today, we're going to go into way more detail on.
Absolutely. Do entire shows on the subjects. Okay?
Absolutely. Abs-
And we also, are more than willing to take suggestions too. Like if anybody has anything that they're like, I have this question and this is just driving me crazy, we'll freaking talk about it.
yeah, you got a crazy question, whether you're stuck on the mental health side of how does spirituality fit into my healing process, or you're in spirituality and you're stuck as to, well, how do I make it to this next level? I'm not doing fantastic meditating. Well, you know what? We'll do a show on meditation and how to get started and what works best when you do start. And what works best for us or how we started might not work the best for you, but it might be the path that you take to find what works best for you. And that's all we want, is to help people find a way to their own healing path, because it's going to look different for all of us. But the emotion, it doesn't take away any of the emotions of it. We're still all struggling in this life. We're all stuck in this big old swimming pool trying to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, there's no wrong way to go about it. Not really. You got to come to your own conclusions in your own way. And that's going to look different for everyone. I know that it looks different for you than it looks for me. But, just like I know that it looks different for some of these other people that I know, like everybody's got a different scope of experience they're drawing from to begin with, and all of those experiences are what make them the person that they are right now. And then you just gotta dive a little deeper to the core in your being to figure out who you really are and who you want to be, who you're meant to be.
Right. And didn't we have that? I think we had that discussion yesterday on higher self, and uh, what it means to have a perspective of your whole life. I mean, I am coming from a place where there's so much damage over the years that I've been working so hard on healing those little portions of me and sticking them back together and moving forward, making choices on the things that I've learned through life. But what I've left out is that higher self. I'm not taking into account what my future should look like or what I'm being pulled towards. Now, all my life, I've been told that all of the stuff that has happened to me has to have happened to me for a reason. I've been put here to help people. My mom used to tell me this over the years. You were put here to help people. You're going to help people one day. Well, this is what I put together to attempt to help people. That way,
Right.
hopefully, I reach the people that need me when they need me. I reach the people that need to hear the message that I have to spread. And the message I have to spread is that healing is tough. When you're a veteran, healing is tougher. Well, looks like our time's up for today. That was Jeff. Jeff is my intern, and he's been timing our show. So that is all the time that we have for today. And so next time we will pick a topic.
Absolutely.
Crystal, do you want to plug our sites?
Oh, so you can reach us on Facebook at To Witch Isle, and you can reach us on the web. It's a work in progress. Don't beat me up. www.towitchisle.com. I believe Charmaine is going to edit in a little, thing so that you can see how that's all written out.
Absolutely. Find us, send us a message, tell us what you want to hear about next. We already have stuff planned, of course, but if you have something you'd rather hear about, we of course will do that. And as well, we want you to take what you want from this podcast and leave what does not resonate with you. Just leave it.
Absolutely.
Don't even worry about
Yeah.
it. If anything we said was like, "Ugh," just leave it. Take what you want.
Yeah. It just means it wasn't meant for you.
That's right. That's right. And so until next time, I'm Charmaine.
I'm Crystal.
We'll see you next time on To Which Isle.
Bye-bye.